On this episode of Road Dirt, we take a deep dive into the little-known but utterly fascinating world of motorcycle sidecar racing. Stay tuned. Hey, this is Rob with Road Dirt. We are at Barber Motorsports Park for the Barber Vintage Fest. And this is Bruce. Just met Bruce. Pleasure to meet you, man. And running in the big wheel class of sidecar racing. Now, tell me a little bit about the bike you're running. Moto Guzzi here.
This is a Moto Guzzi. It's a 1975 850T.
Yeah.
It was donated by Boris Stroud, who owns Marin Motorsports.
Yeah.
And he's one of our sponsors. The team that we're running on is DD214 Allied Racing.
Okay.
It's a 501c3 organization to help get vets into motorcycle racing.
Yeah.
And especially disabled vets.
Cool.
And right now, I know we have at least 5 veterans with varying degrees of disability, from 100% down to about 50%.
Running in sidecar, huh?
Running sidecar.
What year is the Moto Guzzi you're running here?
This is a 1975.
75. Okay, yeah, you said that. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
She runs deadhead, which means there's no charging system for the battery.
Yeah.
So we have to charge the battery up before the race. Then when we get back,
Put it on a charge.
Put it on a charge.
Put it back on a charge.
Top speed that I've gotten on this so far was during practice yesterday. We got to 68 miles an hour.
On a sidecar with somebody hanging off, on the bars right there.
Now
that probably feels a whole lot faster, especially around Barber.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, that it does, man.
Talladega
cool.
was a little bit more nerve-wracking. It's a very short track.
Yeah. So I've been at Talladega, yeah.
Yeah, getting the speed up there was a little rough.
Crazy. Good to see you, man. Yeah.
We have two bikes here on a big wheel. We got my Moto Guzzi, and our team captain's running a Harley.
Right down here, yeah.
And he's been the champion in the big wheels, the national champion for, I believe, the last 5 years.
Wow. So competition, this is Friday afternoon, early evening. Competition actually begins tomorrow, right?
Correct.
We'll come around and see you some more, Bruce.
All right.
Yes, sir, man. Appreciate you, yeah. So this is Dutch. Dutch is the proud owner of this Harley Davidson, the one that Bruce told us is a 5-time title holder in AHRMA. Now, tell me a little bit about it now. Tell me a little bit about the bike.
It's a 75.
Yeah.
XLCH. Running stock bore.
Yeah.
And it's in a carburetor. It's the original bike that raced the first year we raced the Bears Championship with it, and we've been running the Classic Big Wheels Championship with it since then.
Cool.
Since 2018, I believe, started.
Yeah.
And
Look at the platform.
we've just been expanding out. We race under Stuyvesant Vintage Racing, but DD214 is our veterans.
The veterans class.
Yeah.
Now, Bruce, tell me, just a second ago, you were talking about that out there on the track. One of the difficulties is making those turns. Now, it's one thing to race motorcycles; it's another thing to race sidecar. What is it about sidecar that's so different than motorcycle racing as far as steering and things like that, steering and handling and all?
Well, the first thing and the most important thing is when you're riding a motorcycle, the only person you're worried about and responsible for is yourself.
Right.
When we're doing a sidecar, there's a second person you're responsible for.
Yeah.
So now as far as handling goes, on the big wheels, your center of gravity is really high, and where on a regular bike you can lean in to your turn, you can't do that with a sidecar. So
how do you make corners with a sidecar?
well, on these rigs,
As well as the counterweights, yeah.
yeah, making a right-hand turn on this European style sidecar.
Yeah.
The sidecar acts like a outrigger, and your monkey has to help balance it.
Right.
And they're actually about 80% of our steering.
Oh wow.
So
80%, yeah.
working with a monkey you're familiar with is really important. Making a right-hand turn, my passenger or monkey has to lean way out. He has to keep that sidecar down, and my responsibility is primarily not only steering, because you're not leaning in a turn, you're actually steering.
Yeah.
And also maintaining that throttle to keep your speed at a point where you're not putting your monkey in the air. And staying off the rumble strips.
And staying off the strips, which might bounce your monkey somewhere they don't want to go, right?
Right.
Now, tell me your name again.
Rusty.
Rusty, that's right. Yeah, Rusty. You just rolled in on that right over there in the corner.
1977 CB750.
Yeah.
It's the original race team was Van Arsdale and Thomas in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
I went into retirement for about 30 years, and then we picked it up a few years ago. And the stipulation with that was it had to be a disabled veteran that ran it, and it came to me as the pilot.
Awesome. Who's going to be running with you this weekend?
Bob Rebecco, he is right back here.
So you're the monkey.
I am.
Dude, you're the acrobat, brother.
Yeah, it's fun. I've ridden with him. I'm like the monkey who hops on everyone's bike.
Look forward to seeing you out on track, man. This will be cool, seeing you guys in action together. Yeah, all of y'all.
I don't know if they ever said it's gonna be a big grid, like 30.
There's 30 rigs here.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah,
real good.
That's going to be that's a good grid, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good grid.
So look forward to it. Hey, thank you for the tutorial there, Bruce.
Not a problem.
This is Bernard Uquay, and Bernard is the pilot of that right there. Bernard, it's a pleasure to meet you, man.
Nice meeting you.
So yeah,
Good to be here.
Good, yeah, it is, man. It's fall's finally in the air.
Yeah.
Actually, it's kind of cool here for a change.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. So now you've been sidecar racing here at Barber for quite a few years, haven't you? How
About
many
12 years, I think.
About 12 years you've been coming to Barber?
Yeah.
How many years you total have you been racing sidecar?
12 years.
12 years. Okay, I thought you were actually doing it a little bit longer than that, but you were two-wheel racing before that, weren't you?
Correct. Yeah.
Just motorcycle racing.
Yeah.
So now, what was the attraction for you of getting into sidecarring?
Well, it's a new challenge.
Yeah,
It's a new challenge. You know.
it's the new challenge.
I was racing cars, and then, like you say, solo bikes, and so sidecars I'd never done before. So
Yeah.
it was a new challenge, and it's challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking with some of the other teams yesterday that were out practicing and everything, just about how much difference, the handling, just everything, right? Going through corners, everything is entirely different on 3 contact points as opposed to 2, especially when you've got, your monkey as a counterweight.
Yeah.
So how's that feel out there on, now you're what class is this?
This was Formula One.
This is Formula One, so you're the top tier
Yeah.
machine out there when you're riding these things.
Yeah.
So
Sidecar handles or anything about a sidecar is different than a solo bike,
yeah,
2 wheels. It's also different than a car. So
Yeah.
it's not like anything else. Anything you learned about bikes or cars, you can forget about it.
got to unlearn it to ride these. Huh?
Yeah. So it's a totally different ball game.
Now, everybody knows that your counterweight rider is called the monkey. What officially is the pilot called? The driver?
It's basically just a driver.
I've heard him called a wrist and stuff. The wrist and the monkey and
There's all kinds of slangs for it, but it's definitely the driver. and usually co-pilot is, I guess, would be the correct term for
Pilot and
for the-
co-pilot.
yeah.
Now, what are you running? What engine? What power plant are you running in your machine, in your F1?
It's a Yamaha R1,
The Yamaha R1 engine.
1 liter bike, about 200 horse.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's a beast. I bet that's
Yes.
a monster to try to handle around the track too.
Yeah, and we have a top speed on the fast track. We'll do in excess of 180.
180. That's
So,
insane.
A little bit
So-
slower here because we gear real short.
Right,
It's
right.
not that fast of a track.
Multiple straights, but they're not very long, are they?
Correct.
Comparatively?
Correct. Yeah.
So, how many this year? Is this one of your favorite tracks, or which one of your favorite tracks to
Oh,
sidecar on?
This is definitely the most favorite. I mean,
Is it?
It's such a beautiful facility
Yeah.
in the first place, and the track is nice and flowing. You know,
Yeah, you can really.
it's not like a stop and go type thing. It's one corner leads nicely into the next one.
You can really get in. You can really get into rhythm, can't
Yeah,
you? With it?
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, Bernard, tell me a little bit about the machine here. You built this thing pretty much almost entirely from hand.
Yeah, this is my design
Yeah.
and built. I built everything on this machine, except of course the engine
Yeah.
and the rear wheel and the chair wheel.
Uh,
Those I was able to buy, but even the front wheel I had to make.
you made your own front wheel?
Yeah, because of
How in the world?
the severe offset to get hub center steering on it, we had to have a severe offset, and I couldn't buy a wheel like that, so I wound up having to make my own.
Making your own. Now,
I-
this feature here just kind of knocks me out. You're running a R1 1000 cc,
Right.
but your exhaust is like right up underneath your armpit right here.
Yeah. We have to run a muffler because it's way loud.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
So in order to do all that, our collector is under here,
Yeah.
4 into 1, and then the muffler and exit at the front.
That's
And
got to be like ear-shattering loud for you. You got to wear
Yeah,
like serious
you know,
earplugs for it.
wear earplugs,
And
of course. But the weird thing about it is I'm kneeling in the rig, and I'm basically sitting on top of the exhaust.
Yeah, yeah.
So it gives a whole new meaning to hot buns.
Yeah, I guess it does, man. That's
So-
for sure.
But it's
Quite a
basically
rig.
the only way we could do it.
Yeah. All right, so Bernard let me help him put the body on. Now, what fastens the body in place?
Well, the body sits on 4 pins, 2 in the front, 2 in the back.
Okay.
But there's nothing holding it on. Just my body weight sitting in the body will hold
No
it in
kidding.
place.
Oh my God. This thing goes 180 miles an hour on straights, and it's held on by your body weight.
Yeah, yeah,
That
Yeah.
is amazing.
yeah. I think the idea is in a crash, the body will come off the chassis with me in the body.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
we get ejected basically.
Jeez. And here's where the monkey resides. This is incredible. Well, thank you, Bernard.
Quite
Appreciate
welcome.
this. Well, it's Saturday afternoon at Barber Motorsports Park. Vintage Fest racing has been going on, and we are with Tina Greenfield. Tina, pleasure to meet you. Yeah, we go.
Pleasure to meet you as
Hey,
well.
thank you. Yeah. Now, she was out there running in the which one? With the F1 or F2? Which class were you running?
F2s, called TT2s here
TT2.
because there are a couple of different versions
Yeah.
of long and short. So
Okay.
there's a 1,000 and a 600 version of both long and short.
So what you're
TT2.
running? Which one are you running? The 600?
The 600.
600?
Yep.
So now, how long have you been sidecar racing?
This is our second year.
Second year. So
Yep.
you're new to it, but
Very new. Very
what'd you race before that? I know you had to race.
Well, I still do race. I still
yeah?
do race bikes. So
Yeah.
I have a 300 and a 400 that I race with
Cool.
CCS or CRA or AHRMA.
Yeah.
Today, I just have the sidecar,
Okay.
but I am also an avid motorcycle racer as well.
Excellent.
Started
Excellent.
with that
Yeah.
and then went to the sidecar.
All right. So here's a question I got for you.
Yeah.
What was the attraction to sidecar racing when you've been, motorcycle racing your whole life and stuff?
Well, I haven't been motorcycle racing
Or
my whole life, but,
Well,
but
long.
as soon as I was introduced to sidecar racing,
Uh-huh.
I started watching a few videos on
Yeah.
YouTube, and I was like, "Oh my gosh,
Let me
that's
guess,
like
Isle of Man TT, right?
It was,
Some
and
of them.
also there's Molson British Sidecar Championship
Yeah.
and some other like road course type. And I'm a motorcycle racer, but I don't particularly like watching motorcycle racing. But I could watch sidecar racing all day.
day long.
I loved it.
It's another level of excitement and crazy. It's
Oh,
hard to
yeah.
describe.
And it's very visual, you know,
Yeah.
with the passenger on the back moving
Oh, gosh,
from side
yeah.
to side. You know, it's I don't know, very physical, but at the same time it's like motorcycle racing plus extra.
Yeah, yeah.
So as soon as I realized that there was a grid here in the U.S., I was like, well, where do
You're
I
all
find a sidecar?
That's right. So now I've heard pilot, co-pilot. I've heard wrist and monkey. I've heard several different descriptions, you know. And from what I gather, it's really whichever role you play on it, you really have to almost cross-train and be good at both of them, just because so you know what your partner is thinking at all times, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, actually, the last race that we raced prior to coming here, I was driving,
okay.
and Tony was passenger.
And Tony was your monkey. So to speak.
Yeah, and it is the cross training is good not just for, you know, technical ability, but just a little bit more empathy for the person and what they're doing. You can feel
you've got each other's lives in your each
yeah,
other's
and you can
hands.
feel what it's like to be in their position, and you can feel what you know, like if a monkey does something as a driver, you can feel what that feels like if you did the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
And so you kind of get some perspective about, you know, how, you know, your actions interact with the other person,
Right,
and what
right.
it does and how hard their jobs are. It's hard to be a sidecar driver. It's hard to be a sidecar passenger too.
Yeah.
And to just have a little bit of that
Understanding with
walking
each
a
other.
mho in each other's shoes a little
Walking-
bit.
That's a good way of putting it. So how'd you guys do today?
We did very well. We're still a young crew.
Yeah.
We're out there with people who have been racing longer than I've been alive.
Yeah.
And it's hard to keep up with those folks because they're very wily. They got some good equipment, but we felt really good about our progress and how we're progressing as a team, and the machine was running great.
Speaking of which, tell us a little bit about your machine here. What
yes.
what's the power plant you're running in it? What's your engine in it?
Yeah, the power plant is a Gixxer 600, an 08, so it is classified as a modern machine in AHRMA's rules. It is stock, you know, as far as what's underneath.
Okay.
It does have a special oil pan and a special windage trays and everything.
Okay.
Because motorcycle engines were designed to tip when you go around corners.
Right.
And so sidecars don't usually tip, and so the oil tries to slosh up the sides of their cases. And it could, if you don't have your oil right, if you don't have your oil pan right, you could starve out and get air bubbles in your in your lines. So that's about the only thing that's special about that engine. Otherwise, the rest of the chassis was home built by a guy named Bob Garbett up in northern Michigan in the late 80s.
Yeah.
He raced it for several years, sold it and let other people ride it through the 90s.
Now it's come into your hands.
I think it's sat for at least 15 years without being ridden. I bought it literally in boxes of bins.
Oh wow!
Like Rubbermaid tubs, and the rims were all split. These are 3-part, you know, split rims. You know, they were like literally taken apart. And so I had to put all the pieces together. And at that point, I had never seen a racing sidecar in person before. So,
oh man, you learned it as you literally built it. That's crazy.
I had all the pieces laid out in my garage or my basement floor, and I just would pick up something and let's say, okay, I think this goes.
That's got to go.
It goes to the front, and I think this piece goes to the back. Yeah, and I didn't clean off anything because all those old rust marks and grease marks told me where the other pieces kind of made it up with it. So it was like, okay, I got this thing, and it looks like it bolted to something. So
here's where, here's the matching rust. Here's where it went.
Exactly. These rigs, there's not a single sidecar that's just like another sidecar.
Oh yeah.
So
now I've seen them on where the passenger, the co-pilot, monkey, whatever you want to call it, is on the left side. I've seen some where on the right side. What's the difference between? I mean, is one a European style and one an AMA style, or why do you see both of those on the grid?
Well, a lot of times it depends on what track they're going to be riding the most.
Yeah.
Because your advantage or your strongest corners are going to be on the side with the engine and the wheels. So if you have a circuit like this is a right-hand track,
Right.
circulating clockwise. This is the best setup because most of the corners are going to be rights.
Yeah.
Now, if you had a track that you knew you were going to be competing at that was the opposite, you could put the chair on the other side, and that would give you the advantage for the left.
So you've got a body for the right side as well, huh?
Yeah. So
a lot of racers do.
This side of the machine is very light.
Yeah.
And the sidecars do not handle the same right versus left because where the weight is going on the rig. And generally speaking, your rights are going to be stronger with this machine because you've got all the weight of the rider, the engine, and most of the chassis weight on the right, trying to keep that right down. Whereas when you're hitting the left, the only thing keeping this down is your passenger.
Yeah.
It's very light. You can go over and pick it up.
Yeah.
It'll tip readily.
Crazy. Well, thank you for spending a couple of minutes with us. This has been a real education for Mike and I, just learning sidecar racing as we're watching it and recording it and everything. So best to you, and thanks for the tutorial on it. I appreciate you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
More races tomorrow. So I'm with Jason Vaden. And Jason, how'd you guys do out there? Well, first of all, what class do you guys run in?
We race in the SC4, which is the top end of the vintage class.
Yeah. What are you running as far as a power plant in there?
It's a Moorespeed 1047cc BMW.
Yeah, man. How'd you do today?
We got third place. We were second for the whole deal. We had a red flag start, and we had to go back, and I think we thought that we still had one lap to go, but we got docked a lap from the red flag.
Oh, no.
And so we got past thinking we could make it up in that one final lap, but hey, third's good.
Third is good, yeah.
Still a podium.
That's right. You're on the podium. That's right. It's a gorgeous machine, man.
Thank you.
And it's great seeing them out on track.
Thank you.
What a physical sport it is. Such a
is.
physical sport.
It's really fun. It's only kind of motorcycle racing that I know of, and that involves two people, and it's the camaraderie, but also just the combination of just driver and passenger. It's not one or the other does more or less than the other.
You really need each other, yeah.
It is like a dance, and it's like timing, and it can get very difficult if your timing is off, and catastrophic if your timing is off. But when your timing is on, it's just smooth and it gets quiet, and it's like a dance.
Yeah, it's a good way of describing it.
It's a dance 3 inches off of the asphalt at 100 miles.
It's like a tango at 100 miles an hour, 3 inches off the pavement.
Who doesn't like to do that?
Exactly. That's right. Well, thank you. Yeah, man, enjoyed talking with you.
You bet. Thank you.
So there you have it, motorcycle sidecar racing. Enjoyed talking with Bernard, with Tina and Tony, with Dutch and Bruce, and some of the others that we've had at Rusty that we've had a chance to chat with about what a fantastic sport, motorsport, sidecar racing is. And man, it really takes two to tango in this sport. You know, the two that are really mentally, physically in sync with each other, that train hard together, that know each other's actions and movements, and takes two to win and really be successful at this. Quite a sport. I've always enjoyed watching it on television. I think the first time I ever saw sidecar racing was in a documentary on the Isle of Man TT, and it just blew me away. And seeing them live, you know, here at the Barber Vintage Fest, man, it's really it's funny to watch, but it's more thrilling to watch. Just seeing how physical it is, and you know, the co-pilot or monkey, whatever you want to call them, throwing themselves around on the back of that bike, and what it takes really to maneuver those things and get them through corners and things like that. It's quite fascinating. So I want to thank all those that gave us the opportunity to chat with them about it and give us a little bit of a tutorial on this fantastic motorsport that really doesn't get nearly enough coverage. It does in Europe, but over here in the States, you know, doesn't get a lot of attention, doesn't get a lot of love. Well, we hope to change that, because we absolutely here at Road Dirt thoroughly enjoy it. Mike and I have had a great time this weekend, and really watching the races and being trackside for it, but really more than that, even getting to talk with these people. And they're a really unique subculture within motorcycling and within motorcycle racing specifically. So Hey, if you like this, if you enjoyed this content, hope you'll subscribe and ring that bell for notifications about future content. You can also check us out on our main media site, roaddirt.tv. That's our e-magazine. And we're also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Road Dirt TV. And those are pages you can find out there. We've got a weekly podcast called Road Dirt that you can find on Apple, on Spotify, all the major Anchor, all the major carriers of podcasts. And speaking of Spotify, we got a 25-hour music playlist called Road Dirt Classics out there as well. Music for when you're at the track or out on the open road. So go check that out. Well, this is Rob with Road Dirt. Until next time, this is Mike and I out here at trackside at Barber Motorsports Park during the 2023 Vintage Fest. Until next time, ride life.